Hello and welcome back to the Academy of the Magical Art. I am Frater Ophiel, and this is a later video in a series on the laws of magic. Today we will be covering the laws of opposites, polarity, and balance. The law of opposites, or sometimes referred to as the law of synthesis, states that the synthesis, or two opposing or conflicting ideas or pieces of data, will produce new third ideas that will not be a compromise of the original two. It will be an entity or an idea completely separate of its own. When we discuss thought and how our minds work and process and our own personal opinions to things, this law is why it is extremely important for us to have cognitive dissonance in our lives, why it is extremely important for there to be a disagreeing or opposing force. Not only does this help us to analyze and understand ourselves and our own beliefs and the way we think about things, but through looking at both sides, new perspectives are formed. And yes, it is a result of the original two, but it is completely independent of its own, and it doesn't have to compromise the way that you originally felt. You don't have to change. It's just important that we allow ourselves to expand and understand and become new through an expansion of consciousness. This particular law allows one to simultaneously hold two opposing ideas without feeling anxiety or cognitive conflict. The law of polarity says that any two things can be separated into any two opposite parts, with each part having its own essence. This law is essential for many mystical statements and arguments, and it is essential in denoting characteristics of objects. This is a Hermetic principle that has been believed for thousands of years, and yes, is also a law. One thing will define the other. Any coin has two sides. Any person has masculine and feminine. All light is defined by darkness, and darkness is defined by light. To every positive, there must be a negative. Energetically, electronically, cognitively, there always has to be. It is extremely important that rather than being upset by these opposing forces and allowing us to be thrown off our balance, that we accept them as a natural part of life and part of the natural order of things and the cosmic universal order, and respect the job that it does rather than trying to oppose it and fight it and be polarized, and doing so placing yourself in a box. True freedom comes through knowledge, understanding, and acceptance of all sides, and being willing to cognitively place together the pieces of a puzzle in order for it to portray the proper image, rather than discrediting any piece that doesn't look like it might not fit. Just because it appears one way does not mean that that's its true nature. It still has its place. The law of balance is simply a statement for conserving personal energy and achieving greatest proficiency. One's energy or power level must be kept at an even keel. This energy level is best maintained by avoiding extremes in thinking and action. One must be open-minded, able to consider all alternatives, but strong enough to determine one's personal course in life. This requires the right amount of flexibility, able to examine new ideas or concepts in order to keep the ones which would improve one's life and reject those which would not. There is also a sub-law that fits in with the law of balance, which is the law of even exchange. It is true that everything does have its price. Every exertion of energy costs something, and it is important that there's an energetic exchange there that replaces that energy. Oftentimes, this law gets used as an excuse for people to charge outlandish amounts of money for magical services or energetic services and claim that they must be financially reimbursed in order for it to be willing to be worth their time. Well, that's just ridiculous. Nobody should ever be denied any help if they're a true seeker of help, enlightenment, and change just because they don't have a pocket bulging full of cash. That in itself is polarized thinking. What is important, though, is that there's an energetic exchange there of something that, yes, will allow this person that is receiving the service to feel that they have received something worth value more than what its surface value is, but it also energetically replenishes you and allows them to contribute to their own work that they're trying to have done. acknowledging the exchange that has to take place is important, but it doesn't have to be monetary, being that money is just an energy and it isn't exactly a real established thing anyways. From some perspectives, it could be far more valuable for somebody to bring you a dinner or give you a blanket, something that will keep you warm. Just be sure to consider and ensure that when you are putting your energy out, that you make sure that there is even an exchange circuit. That way you do not deplete yourself too much or take too much. I want to thank you for joining with me today at the Academy of the Magical Art. And until next time, blessed be.